twice in 1 week. So Shane Winter says.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had B-Dubs and Jeffra on yesterday. This week it's just Vic and me, and Vic is on to talk about his game.
Yeah.
Vic is the general co-host all the time, but I think it's important to he's here to support me. I really think that what he's making is really cool, and so I wanted to spend this. I wanted to get a stream in while his Kickstarter was still red hot on the anvil, on the iron or whatever, so we could talk about it and hype it up, because I think it's worth hyping up. So Vic, I'm glad you're here with me and we could talk about Streets of Magic.
Yeah. Also, Malachi, I did used to ride the short bus, you ableist, so thank you. Streets of Magic. Well, anything you want to know specifically, or?
Well, I guess we'll start with the genre itself, because I think that you're. Oh, thank you, my ear trumpet. Every time, man, you're so generous. I really appreciate it. Really, truly. You help pay for this StreamYard subscription.
Yeah.
You guys all do when you support the channel like that. Really do. But I think it'd be good to talk about maybe the genre in general. Because we were talking about this before we went live. You're doing your Kickstarter on hard mode, and I appreciate, and I think I respect, and I hope other people respect people that kind of make the things they want to make, and despite how popular or unpopular it may be, it's I'm going to make this thing, and if it's popular, cool. If not, doesn't matter. I like it still. I think we'd want it to be popular. We want it to be successful, of course. The sales and being able to support yourself, and you just started to register as a business. I did that recently as well. That's all important and nice, but I think it's cool to stick to your guns and do that. And for you, it's a lot of this modern fantasy stuff. So I don't know, maybe we start in the genre, genre in general, and maybe just talk a little bit about that. I don't know, for those that maybe don't know, because you and I are both terrible at shilling our stuff, honestly.
I know.
Why? I guess the question should be why modern fantasy? What's your draw to it?
So I've always been interested in that. I've always been interested in kind of mixing the mundane, the modern, with the otherworldly. I grew up watching stuff like Alien Nation, the original movie with James Gunn, and then at one point in the 90s, there was also a TV series, and then a bunch of TV movies. And I love those. I watched them pretty religiously. I love the idea of these aliens just living and trying to assimilate into LA, modern LA and stuff like that. As far as tabletop games goes, my first game that I ever played tabletop wise was Shadowrun, which that's the big example of kind of that mix of it's not modern, obviously it's cyberpunk, but kind of same thing at the end of the day. Modern-ish. Plus, fantasy elements. After that, I got into D20 Modern, the Urban Arcana stuff. I used to play on those multi-user dungeons that I mentioned all the time. I used to run a couple even myself, and one of them was basically just the Forgotten Realms. I can't remember what the world is called. Apple or something. It was basically Forgotten Realms, but what if Forgotten Realms was moved to a 21st century tech level? So we had a modern version of Waterdeep with skyscrapers and stuff like that. So I've always been interested in that stuff since the early 2000s, maybe even the late 90s.
People are naming off movies like Malachi says Big Trouble in Little China. I love that movie, and I think that's a good example of maybe the kind of adventure that you could easily run in the stuff that you write. And in particular will be Streets of Magic, I think. Although Streets of Magic, maybe we'll get to this too, because I guess this is setting wise too. I guess this is appropriate for this, because when talking to me about this on the Discord server and stuff like that, you've mentioned how the setting that you're going for is kind of timeless, in that it makes me think, the way you described it, as a kid growing up in the 90s, I loved Batman the Animated Series. And that was sort of a very there's Zeppelins, and there's the cars look very in the past, like 1920s, 30s, you know, but then someone whips out a cell phone and there's computers and they have some modern weapons, but then like they have some like Tommy guns and things like that. And
Yeah.
There's jets and airplanes and all these other like higher tech things mixed in with like these. It's very anachronistic is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But was I guess like why go that is there what's the reason for going that route, I guess, too, as far as like setting
So I wanted to. People bring up Bright, so that's kind of like the more modern gold standard of like that kind of setting. I mention it all the time, kind of as shorthand to give people an idea what I'm going for. It's the real world, but orcs and elves and magic and all that stuff exists. So I like Bright, and I've wanted to have my own RPG that was kind of like a similar thing. But I also wanted to give it an extra little twist to make it even further my own. I didn't want to just do Viktor Gotjav's Bright. And then, it's like Bright without Will Smith, basically. So I wanted to make it more my own. So, like you, I grew up on the 90s Batman cartoon. I loved the 89 movie with what's his face?
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, Michael Keaton. I love the movie Streets of Fire, which you might recognize the title there. Yeah, that's also
the cover too.
yeah, the cover. Yeah, so that's also kind of like that setting. Since I kind of count Sin City under that too, because Sin City it's technically the modern day, but still like it has like that very like noirish like look to it. So I decided just to combine those two to kind of give it like that extra little twist and to make it even more kind of unreal and otherworldly. Plus, since it's set in modern times, I kind of wanted to avoid having to mention modern politics. I don't want to have to mention specific presidents or like all that stuff. So keeping it timeless, keeping it anachronistic, lets me kind of avoid that stuff because people can fill it in themselves if they want. If you want to play Streets of Magic and you want to set it during World War II, you can. If you want to set it in the 1960s, you can. And then you can mention like JFK or whatever if you want. But that's up to the referee. Like, I don't have to do that stuff. And if you do like specific, like, it's like 2026, people are like, oh, well, what about so and so?
You want to do an Epstein Files?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Or Iran War. Like, I get that because that's one criticism I see of people that want to like do social commentary. Even like they might even have like an activist mind towards it. But I do think that like it dates your book as well.
Yeah,
when you have that kind of stuff, whatever your opinion on it may be, it's sort of like it's forever. Once we move beyond that point in history and that's like in the past, it might be a little weird, it's like playing a game during the riots of 2020 or something like that. It's like, well, I don't know, like that's to me, it's just strange, and it dates it, and it feels odd. It's like putting too many just general pop culture references in something. It's like, oh, you have this thing and you mentioned, I don't know, the first thing that came to mind was like Pogs in it. And it's like, well, that totally dates your product to what it was, and it kind of makes it a little silly.
Yeah, and then the Zoomers will have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What's a pork? But they were called flippos over here. So I want to kind of avoid those pitfalls. Plus, I do love that kind of timeless anachronistic feel. I love the idea of like this weird like Gothic city with like the big Oscar statues standing next to a skyscraper, then zeppelins flying around, and then all that stuff. Plus, I'm a big fan of alternate history. So that also kind of gives me an excuse to do that. So one of the things I'm doing in the Streets of Magic setting, just as an example, is that Japan, instead of it being an empire, it's still a shogunate, because when they had that war, like the shogun versus the pro imperials, in my setting the shogun won. So Japan is still a shogunate. And there's yokai and stuff running around. Like, the shogun, his advisor is like a tengu. Like, stuff like that. So it allows me to just kind of do stuff like that. Plus, it allows me to get away more with putting in fictional locations. So the city that the Streets of Magic is set in is fictional. The state that it's set in is also fictional. The state's called Dorado. The city's called Lightwood. The locals call it Blightwood because it's just so dark and corrupt and shitty. And it allows me to kind of do that comic book thing, like in DC and Marvel, where there's just like random fictional cities.
It's Gotham and Metropolis.
Yeah, and random fictional countries, like the country that Doctor Doom wants. That's somewhere in Europe, like they vaguely said, like it's Eastern Europe, and Doctor Doom is like the dictator of it, So it allows me to do that. So I can just be like, oh, there's like a country in the Carpathian Mountains somewhere called Vrikolakia, and the president's a vampire, and like it's kind of like a safe haven for like vampires and other undead and stuff, where they can hide from international law. So it just allows me to kind of just do fun stuff like that. It gives me the flexibility to just kind of still have it be modern, but take it into all these like fun directions, and then also still allow the referee to fill in whatever blanks they want to fill in.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think alt history's a neat idea as well. I kind of went that route with like Atomic Punk 2240, where it's like, oh, in the 90s, like everyone just blew each other up, you know, and the apocalypse happened. That obviously didn't happen. Although maybe it did. Maybe we're in purgatory right now. I don't know. It feels like it sometimes. But like that happened, and now like that kind of explains why some of the tech feels a little more retro or a little more stagnated, as far as like where it's at now.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of stuff is kind of cool. It makes me think of like more pulpy type of stuff too, because I feel like I think ever since Tolkien, I love J.R. Tolkien. Greg isn't here, but I think it's cool to make a world and a history. Although Tolkien said that this is a myth for the English still, but how Middle Earth is sort of like it sort of still spawned this idea of like, I'm going to make this separate world that's not ours at all, but it's over here, and it's similar to ours in maybe some point in history in some way, but it's also like very different, obviously.
Yeah.
And we get into the world builder, the world crafter, sort of mindset of like trying to construct this world whole cloth. Whereas like when you read a lot of pulp, like you could read like The Dying Earth, for example, and conclude that like, well, this is just maybe the Earth in the very far, 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 far future. You know.
Well, even with Tolkien, you can sort of do that, because he does imply that hobbits are still around, so that implies that Middle Earth was like our history somehow.
I'm saying the way people interpret it though is like they went this other route where I'm making my own separate fictional world that has nothing to do with ours, whereas like pulp had this like John Carter, he just goes to Mars.
Exactly.
It's like it's our world, but it's someplace else, or it's like slightly tweaked or subverted in some way, or twisted in some way. I think that there needs to be more stuff like that in a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of Conan the Barbarian is supposed to be like, if I remember correctly, is supposed to be like our. It's just like the way far past,
Yeah, it's like 120,000 years ago or whatever.
Yeah,
like, something like that. Yeah.
So I think that kind of stuff is cool, and you can do a lot with that. Like you don't necessarily need to build like this fictional world whole cloth. And in fact, sometimes that's like the worst thing you can do as far as like world building is concerned.
The way I did it, it allows me to build like a framework and give the setting like a very specific flavor, but still leave it flexible enough, especially since it's an OSR game, and OSR referees in particular, they like doing their own stuff. Rule 0. But it still allows referees, GMs, whatever you want to call them, to fill in the blanks and to kind of like make the world their own. Like I said, if they want, they can set it during a specific decade and like start referencing politics on that decade. They can set it in real life places, like maybe your characters go to New York City or LA or whatever. But you can also do fantasy stuff. So
comics started making their own wars and nations, so it doesn't date the books. Old Marvel had a lot of heroes be Vietnam, but that ages the characters, so they start referencing their own fictional war.
And I kind of give the option for both. So your characters can go to Vietnam, but the referee can also be like, no, instead of Vietnam, it's some other. It's like whatever, some fictional Vietnam place where your characters can go and fight as mercenaries.
Yeah, we really lost something when authors decided they can all pull off Tolkien. Yeah. And then Shane says this conversation makes me want to know when Dodgerland is coming.
So I'm technically I'm technically putting Doggerland in this setting. So one thing I'm doing is a big part of the setting is that at some point during our prehistory, the Fae showed up and they kind of took over, and they just kind of ruled as these magical despots for however long. And that's why magic exists. Like, they built the ley line network, they left behind all these artifacts and ruins, they created the servitor races, so like elves and dwarves and stuff. Those are basically like the old servants of the Fae. But at some point the Fae left. Nobody really knows why, so I'm kind of leaving it up in the air. Like, there's all these theories in the world, like why they left. It's like, archaeology. It's like, okay, like what happened 20,000 years ago? Like, I don't know. We have all these theories. So at one point they left, and they just kind of like left all that stuff behind, all their toys, all their artifacts, and whatnot. And one of the things that they left behind is that they had all these pocket dimensions. So in my world, stuff like the Bermuda Triangle actually exists. And it's like you sail your ship in there, and the sun is at a certain point in the sky, and you're going a certain direction, and maybe Jupiter's also in the sky. And now all of a sudden you're in like some weird pocket dimension, and you can like go explore Lemuria, because Lemuria exists in like this pocket dimension. So how does it relate to Doggerland? It's like basically I'm making part of Doggerland like an island like that, like a pocket dimension that you can sail into in the North Sea, and you end up in like this island with like all this prehistoric stuff, like mammoths and and like prehistoric trolls and like all that stuff. So
the Lost
that's basically
World.
Yeah, so that's basically it's like the North Sea version of the Lost World. So that's basically what I'm doing with Doggerland, and then maybe eventually I might like expand that into its own setting. Like, what if it's the Street of Magic world, but 15,000 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, and for those that want to know, I have the link here. I pinned it in the chat. It's in the video description. I have it here on the screen, so go check out Vic's Kickstarter for Streets of Magic if you haven't already. He's doing an off-cent print with this too, so that'll also be cool.
I'm at 137 backers. It'd be cool if I could hit like 140 today, but we'll see.
Do our best, do the best we can. Get people over there. See, I had a question that it escaped my brain.
What
was it? Well, I was gonna mention how like this is very niche, but it's interesting how it is like kind of a niche thing, where because it's interesting to me, and I don't know why it is, because like D20 Modern, for example, was super popular. Like, people still talk about D20 Modern very fondly, even today, and so it's interesting to me that like urban fantasy isn't maybe a bit more common or prevalent, or
I don't know. It's kind of like this weird Schrodinger's niche, because I talk to people all the time that like really love that stuff, and then for some reason that doesn't really translate into like, I mean, I can't complain. I'm pretty successful, within our little like circle of creators. But
got a $5 super chat, Australian dollars, from my air trumpet. He says, so Fae and elves are different in your world, Vic? The same thing in the Anglo-Saxons.
Well, I'm not following history exactly, obviously. So no, the Fae are kind of like these higher beings, and they mate the elves, and the elves are still like, compared to humans, they're still like immortal, ethereal,
Fae-like still.
Like amazing, like these amazing beings, but they're kind of like just they're not the Fae. Like, the Fae are just like even above that. They're like, the Fae are basically like almost like demigods. It's like almost like the difference between the Valar and the elves and stuff, the Maiar or whatever.
Yeah, like those things are like angelic beings, and the elves would appear angelic to someone like Samwise or something like that.
Exactly.
They appear angelic and ethereal, but Fae-like even. So, because there's if you're made by the Fae, I would assume that like you carry some of that Fey magic in you. Obviously, you're related in some respect. So
the Fey were basically just like dimension hopping like demigods, and then the elves are just like they were like their prime servants. They were the servants and companions and concubines. And they were the ones that got to live in the palaces with the Fae and bring them their wine and like have sex with them and stuff like that. The dwarves were like we need like some people to go mine ore, like stuff like that. So
so the elves are sex slaves? What?
I mean,
No, I'm just kidding. If the elves are immortal, are they banned? This is like a real world problem. If we're in a modern setting, right? If the
so
elves
the way,
are immortal, are they
so
banned
the way,
from the Seams of Security?
So the way I explained it is that basically the elves that you see in human lands are like the young ones that are kind of like sowing the wild oats, and then once they're done with that, they're kind of expected to go just back to elvish society. And the elves live in like these like these pocket dimensions that I mentioned. A lot of the elves live in these scattered pocket dimensions, so they have like their own like secluded areas on Earth that are like really hard to reach. And you're just kind of expected to, once you hit a certain age, you just retreat back to elven lands and you only deal with elven society. It's kind of like Rumspringa, like the Amish stuff. It's like, you're a young elf. You get to go out for like 100 years, maybe 200 years, live among humans. Sow your wild oats, make some money, have some adventures, and then back to elvish court to deal with elvish stuff.
You get your rebellious phase out, and then come back and get a real job. And
exactly.
It's just a phase, mom and dad.
Also, kind of leaving a lot of that stuff up in the air, like that leaves it for the referee to fill in, which I think is fun. Like I think it's fun for a referee to have to figure out, like, okay, a 300-year-old dwarf, like how does that relate to retirement laws and like stuff like that.
That is funny. I would have that. I mean, I don't want to sound racist, because it's like there'd be like these race-based things based on like, well, I'm human, so I get it, but you're a dwarf or you're an elf, so you don't get this. Like
exactly.
You can still work. I'm old and decrepit now, so
And so if you're a referee and you want to lean into that, go ahead. Like
those are actually like funny things I wouldn't have thought about in a modern fantasy setting. Is the longevity in relation to social programs.
Exactly.
Social security nets and programs and whatnot. The problems that would cause. Would probably cause some intercultural, interracial rivalries and issues. Which I assume in your game that you would allow that to, at least in your rules, you allow that to happen. I think that kind of stuff's interesting. I think people. Not to make the conversation political on this, but at all. But they want to read in like 1-for-1 things over fantasy races, and I feel like you've probably already experienced this in some. I think you told me in some instances with like orcs and stuff like that, where I think you said someone got after you because you said you called orcs savages in a book. One of your books recently, and it was like, well, what I meant by it was this, and you're reading like way too much into it.
You're reading like modern politics into it, which wasn't my intent at all. Like,
But I do think like tensions between different cultures and races is, I mean, we have it in the real world, and I know some people are like, well, it's in the real world, and I don't want to see it in my fantasy games. I escape that. And it's like, well, first of all, you're not really dealing with it in real life. Let's be honest. But then secondly, like, a lot of these cultural clashes and even like racial cultural clashes are really good fodder for like adventure or something like that, like even like as a small time like criminal activity in your world. Like, what if there is like an elf who's like this little shyster who's running like a social security scam of some kind, and the players gotta, as like one of their first gigs or whatever, they gotta hunt this like elf scammer down, who's like scamming people into getting like safety net security benefits. And it's like, well, you're an elf, you don't need that. So like that could be interesting. And then the dynamics that would that would build up. Just as an example. But
but if you don't want to do that, if you want to make everything kumbaya, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to really force the issue either way, but I'm also not going to shy away from any stuff. Like one thing I'm doing, like because you mentioned, like you have to like all these considerations because it's a modern world. So how would you deal with like longevity and all that stuff? One thing, it's like I had to think like, well, what about like undead? Vampires exist, like zombies, whites, ghouls, and stuff like that. So I was like, how would they deal with that in a modern setting? So I came up with this whole where it's basically like it's like almost like a version of the Geneva Convention. Like after some horrible war where like the bad guys basically like used resurrected soldiers and stuff, that shit just got banned like internationally. So being a vampire is basically like illegal. Like like zombies and ghouls and stuff are just like pests that are like supposed to be just taken out on sight. So that kind of like I think that's interesting because I mentioned before, like maybe there's like a country in Eastern Europe somewhere, and the president is actually like a vampire, and that country is kind of seen as a safe haven for that kind of stuff. Like it's like probably a very controversial country internationally, or like it's like it's like the undead version of like Iran or something. But yeah,
or what if what if the U.S. equivalent, which is like funding like offshore through like money laundered stuff. Jeffrey Epstein, he's he's laundering money to like fund resurrected zombie research in some third world country or something like that,
exactly,
and the CIA's involved, and like that right there is like this interweb of like intel agencies and like geopolitics and stuff that you could have all around just like undead stuff.
Imagine if the CIA had magic and all that stuff. Like what they would get up to.
Like they're they're trying to scry on the Ayatollah of Iran or something like that.
Like, exactly.
Doing divinations and stuff like that.
But he's protected by like his jinn. Like
But the funny thing is, I mean, historically, actually, like the CIA has been involved in like remote viewing and lots of other. They are legitimately interested in those sorts of things. So it's like not out of the realm of like this isn't. I think that's the fun thing with a lot of this stuff, because I love a good conspiracy theory. I love a good I love a good like tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. And the modern world, because your game is set in that, is already like full of crazy, interesting tinfoil hat conspiracy theories that you could easily pilfer to like run a game like with Streets of Magic or something like that.
Well, it's like there's this conspiracy theory that the reason that Antarctica can't be explored is because there's like bad stuff, like there are like giant ice spiders and stuff like that. I feel like all these theories. Well, maybe in Streets of Magic that's actually real. Maybe like under the ice there's like a lost world type place that they don't want people to go. There's like dinosaurs and stuff like that.
Or so, the world is flat and that's the edge,
Yeah, who knows? You can do it. You can do that if you want. I don't care. That'd be funny. Yeah.
No, I'm not a flat earther, but But no, there's like lots of things. Like how could you take like the conspiracies, for instance, around like something like the JFK assassination and build a campaign around that, or well, I won't say that. That would be inappropriate. I don't want to say that. I'm trying to think. Like look at a Iraq war, like WMDs or something like that. How could you could look to that and be like, what would be the WMDs in like this world? Like I'm sure they probably have nukes and stuff, but like they might have stuff that's like way worse or just unfathomable to like the modern to what we have now. That's like magical or something like that. And it's like
some artifact that can just make zombies en masse. And so like it's like you can like almost put in like a Resident Evil type thing at that point. My setting actually does have like a conspiracy theory that I was thinking about recently. So dragons are technically considered extinct. There's like wyverns and stuff, wyverns, whatever you pronounce that. But like true dragons are technically considered extinct. But then there's the conspiracy theory that like how they say that people like certain politicians are lizard people. Well,
Yeah.
Streets of Magic, like, no, those are dragons. Like, that's a dragon in human disguise. Like, dragons are actually like, the
Running the world.
dragon. Yeah, like, yeah. So, who knows? That could be very well true in this setting. Like, maybe there's a few dragons left, and they're using like glamours and shape shifting to appear as humans and elves and stuff. And they're, it's the president, or it's like the CEO of like a big company. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's like I said, the real world is so full of stuff. So then interesting points, and so then when you overlay the fantastical over the top of that, it gets even it could get even more interesting. Which is why I'm saying like it's interesting that like the more you think about it, like why is this a niche genre? It's like traditional fantasy gets all the hype, and then sci-fi is probably second, but there's because like even with games like Call of Cthulhu, for example, there's Call of Cthulhu Modern, but I don't really hear people talk about playing that so much. It's just like the traditional 1920s and 30s Call of Cthulhu.
Well, that's another reason why I added kind of like that timelessness and like the alt history and like all those extra tweaks to kind of maybe lure people in more that have a hard time with just being straight up modern. Like they have a hard time computing. It's like 2026. It's our real world, but like fantasy stuff exists, or Lovecraftian monsters exist. Some people just have a hard time making that switch. So I'm kind of hoping that the way I'm doing it, where it's more timeless and you can make it like 1930s, more Call of Cthulhu-ish if you want. That crossover is a bit easier to make. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Travis is mentioning Rifts. I think like because Rifts is post-apocalyptic, and I feel like yours isn't necessarily post-apocalyptic. Like I know Rifts has cities and things like that, but obviously like the lore of Rifts is that they dropped a bunch of nukes and the ley lines, and it's a long time later than that, and so what does that world look like? And I think Rifts feels a lot more kitchen sink to me. It's a lot, in my opinion, less curated. Rifts is one of those settings where I feel like there's an apocalyptic event like going on every continent at the same time. It seems like you have like the vampires in Mexico, I think, and you have you have all these different things going on, and you have aliens over here, you have like a dragon over here, you have like the vampires over here, but they're all like it doesn't, to me, the way it's described doesn't feel the same as like what you're describing.
It's it's almost like separate settings almost.
Yeah, you gotta like pick and choose. Like, okay, I'm gonna run a Risk campaign, and it's gonna be the vampires in Mexico that we're gonna be primarily dealing with, and everything else is sort of like we're not concerned with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which that works, but I think that's just a different way of approaching.
Mine is more like an actual entire world. Like, I was gonna say something. I can't remember what it was. Oh, no, it's not post-apocalyptic. It is a little bit dystopian. Like things might, they're a little bit even shittier than they are in real life. Maybe. Like one thing I'm doing is that the U.S. government maybe doesn't have quite as much of a grip on things as they do in real life. There's like, some lawlessness. So the city is set in this fictional state called Dorado, which I kind of picture like Utah, Nevada, almost, with like the mesas and like the deserts and stuff. So I was picturing like, if you go outside of the city and you're like driving down, the highway through the desert, maybe you have to deal with like road bandits and stuff, like kind of like almost like the Mad Max, like toe cutter gang, like some orcs on dirt bikes and like Vatwods are coming after you to like rob you and stuff. And there's no cop in sight because the nearest cop is back in the city and he's like corrupt. So like I'm kind of doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I had a thought and it just escaped my brain. I'm sorry.
That's fine. After the
My Ear Trumpet says, "I wonder what Magic MK Ultra would look like."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but you could do all sorts of interesting things.
Hey, the Kickstarter looks awesome. Wishing you guys the best of luck. Well, it's just I'm not. Yeah, this is just Victor's project. I'm just talking to him about it. So Victor gets all the credit here. Yeah, Black Rock, spelled rock like that. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that like I think more people should maybe try like different settings of that. Like there's like for me when I know I don't want to compare it completely to Call of Cthulhu, but I didn't think I would like Call of Cthulhu when I first ran it, but as I ran a year-long investigation in 7th edition a while ago. I think when 7th edition was like kind of new still. And it was a lot of fun. And I mean, I know it's not modern, but it was modern enough. It was so different from the way things were handled in like your traditional medieval fantasy game. Like, yeah, there's some things you can't do, but like there's a lot of really neat things you can do in like our world, but it's a little more mythical, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is bias, of course, but I do think people should try out some different settings, and especially try out 9.
Michael says the cities are more lawless than the country somehow in real life.
Yeah. Well, the city is also very lawless in this, but yeah.
Well, that made me think because when that's the thought I had is like when you were describing it, I'm like, oh, there's some lawlessness, and I'm like, oh, so like in the current United States, like in Detroit, Chicago, Minneapolis, LA.
Well, I meant more like for the most part, when you're driving around Utah, you don't have to worry about crazy biker gangs that are like trying to Mad Max hijack you, like so. I kind of meant more like that. Like the country as a whole is a little bit less unified. It's like the provisions are like I'm not quite sure how to put it, but yeah.
Well, if the cities are super lawless, I would assume it's like, oh, we can't expend the resources to go out there and deal with the orc biker gangs. So travel that way at your own risk, citizens.
Also, there's like areas that are like there's like the ley lines, so there's areas that are high in magic, and who knows what kind of weird monsters and stuff are roaming around there. It's like imagine, it's in places like Alaska, it's like hard enough just dealing with bears and moose and stuff like that. Now throwing like owlbears and like wyverns and like all sorts of crazy stuff.
What happens if you hit a displacer beast with your car?
Yeah,
instead of a moose, Yeah,
you get a fine because they're like rare or something. I don't know. Yeah,
those are a protected species. You get a bunch of hippie elves that are like, you ran over that displacer beast. These are endangered. You monster. It's like, well, it stepped out in front of my car.
Yeah. Well, imagine being a park ranger in a setting like that. That'd be horrible.
That could be a fun adventure, actually. That'd be interesting, actually.
Yeah. One thing, and I've been doing this kind of thing for years. I used to run games with this concept. It's like exterminators, but instead of like just going in to like deal with some cockroaches with your little squeezy thing of poison, it's like, well, the sewer is filled with giant spiders that are eating like all the hobos. There's like somebody, some urban explorer broke through a wall, and now there's like an ancient golem on the loose. So exterminators are almost like full-fledged monster hunters. They have like licenses to carry like automatic weapons and stuff like that, and they actually have to go in and deal with some pretty horrible stuff. Like some construction companies like digging in the ground, and they open up an old crypt, and like all these wights and ghouls like suddenly are coming out. Well, now you got to call the the exterminators, and they show up with their machine guns to take out the ghouls. So,
well, it got my brain thinking. Like, there's a lot of here in America, like Americana folklore is like full of weird cryptids and things like that, like the things that people say about like the forests in Appalachia, for example, the Appalachian mountains. And like, it would be cool to do an adventure where someone's gone missing in there and you got to go in and find out what happened to them. What was it? Is it a skinwalker? Is it a whatever, and all that stuff's like super real, and you're like hunting them down, and I don't know that could be there's a lot of options there.
Yeah, you're like the salty old park ranger who's like investigating some disappearance, and it's like, oh, it turns out it's a Wendigo, and we haven't seen a Wendigo in these parts for like 100 years. thought we eradicated them all.
Or like this adventure here, Elven Greenpeace agitators trying to prevent the Japanese shogunate from hunting krakens for sushi.
Yeah, definitely. Like, no, that, like, I know he's joking, but I mean, that definitely fits, actually. So.
Leave the kraken alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exterminators Guild. Yeah, guild. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when we had like Rob on 2 weeks last week, like we were talking about the back rooms and stuff like that. Like you could easily incorporate that kind of stuff into it as well.
Yeah.
You said you already did in Blacklight, but like you could easily do that kind of thing too.
Yeah, that's where like the whole pocket dimension thing comes in. Like, what if you're in some old building and you open the door and you step through, and now you're just in like this weird pocket dimension that's just like a maze of like all these hallways, and you have to find your way out, and there's like horrible stuff in there. Yeah. So
we talked a bit about the setting. I guess we should talk a bit about the rules and stuff like that. So design wise, so this is modern fantasy. We've already extrapolated that, like modern world, but elves and dwarves and things like that, monsters and cryptids and all kinds of mythical things are movers and shakers in the world. Mechanically, from talking to you, this game is more, it's an OSR style thing. So obviously it's going to be roughly compatible with probably like 0E, BX, AD&D. Like you'll be able to roughly. Your book is still its own concise own rule book. Like that's what your goal is here. It's a rule book plus a setting in it. So you're getting rules and a setting in a lot of ways. But you could use this in other already established systems as well.
So the core of it is white box. So not your white box, but like the color white, kind of more like Makuitel, which was based on white box. But I am making it my own more. So I streamlined a couple of the things, like the way movement and all that stuff worked. So like all the small stuff. One big thing that I put in is like, so white box has kind of like the universal saving throws. And then the classes and races just get like bonuses and stuff to that.
There's certain types,
So I expanded on that, and I came up with something called challenge throws, which they're used as saving throws, they're used as skill throws, and they're used as magic throws. So it's like one table of what I call challenge throws, and they're based on difficulty. So it goes from I think trivial to extreme. I can't remember exactly all the terms I've used because I haven't looked at the book in a couple of weeks. But basically, if you have like a saving throw or a skill throw, like, hey, I want to like lockpick this door, the referee gives you a difficulty. It's like, oh, that's like a medium difficulty challenge throw. And so you go to medium difficulty and you check what level you are. So like, hey, medium difficulty, I'm level 3, so I have to beat like a 16. So then you'll just roll your d20, you add all your bonuses that you might have from your class, from your race, from equipment that you're carrying, and you have to try and beat a 16. Same thing for saving throws. It's like, hey, there's like some wobble about to fall on your head. Give me like a reflex saving throw. Okay, I'm level 4. It's like a hard throw, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then also for magic. So the way I'm not really doing Vancian magic. I'm doing roll to cast, kind of like Shadow Dog. So as long as you don't fill your roll, you can basically cast that spell as many times as you want, and unless you fill your roll, and then it kind of fizzles out. And if you roll a natural 1, you lose that spell for the day, basically.
Just like fizzle out that spell. It's like it's done. So okay.
So those go all of the same challenge throw table, and that's like a concept I've been working on for a while. Modern Necessities kind of has like an early version of that as one of the skill systems. I'm working on some other stuff that I've worked on some other stuff that had like early versions of that, because I always like the idea of like taking saving throws and just kind of like expanding on them and like making them work for other things as well. So this is kind of the end result of that.
That's to diverge to have a little design talk, I guess. It's like a lot of people. That's the kind of like, I guess, homebrewing that I think is interesting and cool, is like, because I think that kind of design when you're building off of a game already, you're less likely to break the game because you're like, well, I know saving throws work.
Yeah.
And I know that if I use this mechanic in another way, like it's not going to be game breaking. As easily as like trying to design something completely new for a system whole cloth, right? And so I actually think finding creative ways of applying already existing rules is neat. I think that's a neat way of like adjudicating things. It's a good way of answering those edge case questions for a lot of the rule zero people that are all concerned about that. It's like, well, when you master a system and you know a system really well, you can apply a rule that already exists that, in a creative way towards the situation, and it will work, because
exactly.
Because you kind of know what you're doing.
And I don't have to have a whole separate skill system. I don't have to have a whole separate magic, how to roll for magic system. It's all just based on this one table that you just have on your character sheet, and you just compare your level to the difficulty, and then see what bonuses or negatives you have to it, and you just roll. And it works for all three of those cases: saving throws, skills, and magic throws. Which I think that's a nice streamlining.
It keeps everything like in one place, because that is one thing with like old school saving throws where it's like I gotta reference this one, and and then I gotta reference the attack matrix. I don't really mind that, but I get why some people are like I get why, for example, something like 5e where you're just like or Castles and Crusades, for example, where you're rolling on an ability score. Everyone's trying to find a way of like doing these tests, but like have it be a little more streamlined and simpler than maybe than what maybe someone like myself. I don't really care. I like the old school way, but I get the criticisms and the complaints about jankiness that some people have. I don't mind the jank. I think jank adds character, but that's just me.
No, I like the old school ways too, but I just kind of wanted to just streamline some of that stuff and kind of make it my own. So another change that I'm doing is that AC, because in a fantasy setting, it does AC does kind of make sense, because for the most part you're going to be wandering around wearing your leather armor or your plate mail or whatever, because you're actively adventuring. But in this, like, I want people to be able to like be the detective with a fedora and a trench coat and still get into gunfights or a knife fight or a fist fight, and not just be horribly gimped because they're wearing a trench coat, so they only have like 10 AC. So I took AC and I separated into what I call defense score, which isn't based on your armor. It's just based so each class has like maybe like a bonus to that, and there's like some others, like your dexterity and stuff goes towards that. And if you're a combat class, maybe your defense score is naturally a little bit higher than if you're like a non-combat class. So that's kind of like what AC is. And then armor is basically just it gives you damage reduction. I kept it simple. So it's like I'm wearing a Kevlar vest that gives me 1d6 damage reduction against like ballistic damage and against like knives or whatever. And then I also added the chance for armor to basically get to break. So it's kind of like a usage dice system, which I'm also using for other stuff like ammunition, for if you run out of medical supplies, if you use your med kit, if your item breaks, if you use it, if it's like fragile and stuff. So basically, it's like, hey, the referee is like, hey, you just got shot with a hunting rifle. Your Kevlar vest did absorb part of it, but hey, that's like a pretty big caliber. Give me an armor check. And then so each armor also has like a die attached to that. So maybe the Kevlar vest has an armor die of like 1d4, and if you roll a 1 on that, your armor breaks and you have to replace it or get it repaired.
I was going to ask about that, because I'm a gun guy. You're a gun guy. I have a plate carry and stuff like that. I go to the range and LARP with the boys, but like it's one of those things where it's like this Kevlar vest is rated for like small arms. It's rated for like it's rated for like some 9mm and maybe like really small rifle rounds, but maybe something like an AK round, which is bigger than like a 5.56 or 2.23. Like that might be enough to go through that real life piece of armor, or to at least like hurt you pretty bad, And so I was wondering if you had a way of dealing with that, because like I like that idea too of like armors only going so far. It does feel like it makes sense within D&D, like traditional D&D, like the way armor class works, but like in something like modern, and then maybe this is where people get confused, and we can talk about this too. It's like they think like guns should do more damage.
Yeah.
And I'm with you in the camp that I don't think that guns should do more damage, but I do think that guns should function in a little different way, especially maybe in relation to like weapons and armor, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. So
yeah, no, I never got that argument. Like, a pistol should do like 1d20 damage. It's like, why? Like, you think a battle axe to the neck is less damage than like a 45? Like, yeah,
you're gonna die both ways.
Yeah. So I don't really have that like codified too much. So it's kind of like up to the referee. It's like, hey, you just got hit with a bazooka. Like, give me an armor check. Yeah. Where was I going with this? I kind of like brain farted there.
Just the armors and weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, so also one thing I do have is damage types. So I kind of mentioned like, hey, there's ballistic damage. There's I call it sharp damage, which is kind of like a combination of stabbing and slashing. There's blunt damage. There's fire. There's acid. There's like electricity, all that stuff. And armor will, for the most part, only absorb certain damage types. So a Kevlar vest, it will absorb ballistic and sharp. It's not going to do anything against fire for the most part. So if you're wearing a Kevlar vest and a mage casts like a fireball on you, you don't get armor absorption. You just have to basically rely purely on your defense and maybe on like a saving throw. So. Yeah. But if you're wearing like, a fireproof suit, then you do get armor protection, but then you don't get protection against maybe some other stuff. So, yeah. So I wanted armor to kind of like be pick and choose. Like you have to pick your armor based on the situation you're expecting to get in. If you're just a detective who's dealing with like goons that are just have guns for the most part, then yeah, a Kevlar vest is going to do fine. If you're going to fight some wizards, maybe don't bring a Kevlar vest,
or bring something else, or
have an enchanted Kevlar vest, like I don't know,
or you have your amulet or whatever, your holy symbol. I don't know. Michael says, I think when you move to modern weapons, you have to make it less abstract than D&D combat. Well, that actually makes me think of another aspect, like counting ammo. Are you making people count bullets in a magazine?
No, so I'm just doing uses die. Same thing that I do in Blacklight and I've done in Modern Necessities. So each gun has a uses die attached. So it's like my revolver has like a 1d4 reload die. If you roll a 1, then you have to reload. And it's kind of up to the referee to dictate when you do have to reload. So it could be at the end of combat if it's like a short fight. It could be in the middle of combat if it's like a longer fight. But at any point, the referee can be like, hey, you've shot this thing a bunch now. Give me a reload check. So you check what weapon you're using. You check the reload die. Like I said, could be a D4. You roll a D4. If you roll a 1, then you have to reload and you expand one of your your ammo things in your inventory. And it's not entirely realistic, obviously, because that potentially allows you to shoot your revolver like 20 times if you just keep making your reload check. But I kind of like that because it also plays into the whole cinematic like movie thing where people are just like running around shooting guns endlessly and they never seem to run out. So I don't mind that. It kind of adds to the pulpy feel. So I think that's fun. And then I'm using that same kind of usage dice system for, like I said, armor, for like if your med kit is gonna run out. So items like that, they have like a certain die attached, anything from a D2 to a D12. And as long as you don't roll a 1 on those, you're good.
My view, like going back to this comment, and this is what I did in like Atomic Punk. I think you can be as abstract as D&D combat, but like you have to be abstract in a different way.
Yeah.
And so I think like usage die actually function really well. Like what I did in Atomic Punk was 1 minute combat rounds. Yeah. And because I wanted to have like that sort of cinematic feel of like, oh, I'm behind cover and I'm like popping up and I'm like shooting, and maybe I'm not really hitting anyone, but I'm like just laying covering fire down for my buddies or whatever. I'm just you see that in movies all the time, for example, or like in real life. It's like if you can shoot the bad guy, like that's awesome, but you're the assumed thing, like in D&D, for example, is in AD&D at least, is when combat is explained, is like there's lots of Errol Flynn style like parries and slashes and blocks and things like that, and that all that's going on in. There's lots of attacks being made in that 1 minute combat round, but your D20 roll is to see like, did any of those attacks cause any damage, right?
Yeah.
And I think you can even still do that with guns, because it's like, there's been a minute round and we're like moving from cover to cover and we're shooting randomly, and like, did any of those shots hit?
Yeah. Exactly.
And then I think usage die actually like goes over the top of that really well if you're describing a scene that way to players or combat.
Yeah, because if you're bean counting your ammo and it's like a 1 minute combat round, it doesn't really make sense, because it's like, I shot once, I only expended 1 round. Yeah, but maybe in that 1 minute you actually shot 15 rounds. Like, who knows?
Yeah. Maybe you panicked, and that's where the usage die comes into play. It's like, you something happened in that combat round. Maybe you were surprised. Maybe surprise happened, and the referee's like, you're surprised. You make your attacks, but like roll the usage die, because I want to see like if you just panicked and just mag dumped.
Exactly.
Yeah. That kind of stuff could happen. It like you said, it's not necessarily realistic. There's places and ways that it can be abused. Like, I think any combat system can be, or could be manipulated, or lead to a situation where they're like, well, that doesn't make sense. But you're sort of allowing that to happen because you're like, I want these other things to make sense. On a bigger scale than like the smaller scale.
And I also kind of compensate for that by having the different levels of usage die. So it goes from 1d2 to 1d12. So like a revolver, it could be only a 1d3 reload die. And then it's a lot more likely you're going to roll that one. While like, something like a machine gun with like a 200 round ammo belt, that might have like a 1d8 usage die. Like, I'm just pulling stuff out my ass, but yeah, you know what I mean. So
yeah, it is funny though, going back to like, I think it's funny when people, you see that online and you can tell they're not really good designers, because they're like, they want to be designers, but they're not really good, because they'll talk about guns and just be like, yeah, a pistol's got to do like 3d6 damage, and it's like, that doesn't make any sense. But okay, you do you at your table, I guess, but that sounds stupid to me.
And I do also make guns a bit more granular by having like all the different qualities, all the different properties. So I have like the sniper property for sniper rifles, which does a specific thing. I have the spread property for shotguns, so if you use buckshot, your attacks can potentially hit more than 1 people if they're clustered. I have like rules for burst fire, for auto fire. I have like all these little things that different guns do. So it's not just reskinned bows where you just like, shoot and you try to hit the AC and it just like does damage and that's it. There are actual tactical considerations with firearms. I mean, if anyone has checked out Modern Necessities, if anyone has bought Blacklight, you know exactly what I mean, because I've pretty much been doing that since the start. So yeah. And people seem to like my gun rules. I usually get a fair amount of praise of those. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that seems to be like what you're good at, and I think maybe that's why people like sort of are not interested, it seems, or like it doesn't seem like it's as popular as it should be as a genre, because they don't want to give something like that a shot, where it's like, oh, this actually is designed to make sense. It's not just like, I think there's just a stigma against guns in games, and it just, you see it all the time on X. Some people, I've seen people vehemently say sometimes there's no wrong way to play Rule Zero people, but they're like, guns have no place in D&D. And it's like, well, maybe it's a skill issue, bud. Maybe you're just not good at implementing them,
I think that I actually think they add a lot, because they add like I said, if different guns have different qualities, and they add a lot of tactical considerations, which I find fun. It's almost like it almost turns it into a little skirmish game at that point.
Yeah, so I don't know. Is there anything else about any other unique things that you can think of in your system that might draw people in? Or
I was going to mention something earlier, and now it escaped me again.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I mentioned the damage types. Yeah, I mentioned armor, AC, like all that stuff. Yeah, that's kind of like all the big stuff.
Well,
Otherwise, go ahead.
I think guns, like how guns work, would be like the biggest thing for people that are on
Yeah.
the fence about this genre.
Yeah.
That would keep them away. So it's like I think trying to, like you said, having the granularity in these other aspects. So people, I
Yeah.
guess what I'm trying to say is people put the granularity in the wrong place sometimes, probably because they
Yeah.
don't understand game design and they don't understand guns.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
yeah. Well, to add to that, so people that say like, well, guns should do way more damage. Well, but you're kind of ignoring how lethal they are in other aspects too. It's like, yeah, okay, this sniper rifle does 2d6 damage, the same as like a great sword. Yeah, but it can do it at like 800 yards. That's pretty lethal.
yeah.
You know, some orc who's running at you with a spear, and you're like laying there on the hill with your sniper rifle. You're gonna be able to hit him with that 2d6 if you make your rolls fairly often before he even reaches you. He's probably gonna die before he ever reaches you. So there's like all these other like things that add to the lethality of guns that people don't consider. Like for some reason, people only ever consider damage as part of like a weapon's lethality. They never consider range. They never consider like all this other utility, like the ability if you use full auto to provide suppressive fire to hit multiple people at once. Like all that
keep
stuff.
Keep them behind cover. Keep them from moving.
Exactly. Yeah, so other characters can flank them. Oh, that's what I was going to mention. I do have rules also for covering fire. So if you see that your buddy is in trouble, you can provide covering fire, and it gives him bonuses to his defense score temporarily. So yeah, I have like all this stuff that guns are able to do that really add like kind of like a tactical dimension that I think is fun.
Yeah, the idea that like guns should just do more damage. Like think of it even too. Like think of attachments. Like you can. Well, now you probably can attach bows. Are getting hunting bows, for example, are getting a lot more. Crossbows are getting a lot more complex, or you can have like scopes and things on that. But like, putting you have your sniper rifle. You put a suppressor on it, and so they can't see your muzzle flash, and so like you're just picking off the orc goons from like you said 800 yards away. They don't know it's hitting you. But it's sort of like that thing that you see, I think, when you play Traveler, for example, where you're like, you do that and you're like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. And then you think about it for a second and you're like, but wait, the bad guys could do that to me too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, it does add that other level. Like Traveler makes you really realize that. It's like, whoa, this is cool. I ran Traveler for you, and you guys have done that where you took out like 11 guys in one ambush, and it's like, that was awesome. We executed that perfectly. And it's like, but what if the bad guys execute the same kind of ambush against us? We'll get wiped out. So
So taking cover, all that stuff is also important. Also, ammunition types, that also adds like a whole nother dimension to firearms, because you could have a basic pistol with like hollow points in it. And hollow points, they are worse against armor, but they do more damage otherwise. And then armor piercing ammunition is like the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you you find some magical ammo, and now you can take on vampires with that pistol that you before you couldn't? What if you find like Vorpal ammo when it's going to like 6 guys with one shot? Like stuff like that. So I'm kind of known for adding like all those like interesting little dimensions to firearms, rather than just being restatted bows and crossbows. Because that's like a criticism that I hear a lot. It's like, I hope your guns aren't just like restatted crossbows. Like, no, they're a lot more interesting than that.
I think that plays more on that kind of person that says that, because it's like that's all they can imagine is like, well, that's what I would do, and I don't want to do that. So it's like, well, this is why I'm designing this, and you're not. So, not to be ignorant, but
and also for me that stuff isn't just like an afterthought. For me, that's like a core concept of the game. So
well, I think it's because you realize that people are skeptical of guns in D&D, and so you have to make sure, like, if I'm going to put guns in D&D, this is a very like controversial thing to do for some people. I got to make sure that I've thought this through, and it's good and it works. And
I'm also just a gun guy, and I love just that's the type of game that I like. I like being like some mercenary or whatever, getting into gunfights and like doing all this cool tactical stuff. Dragon's Breath, and since it's a magical setting, there's all sorts of Dragon's Breath. It could be acid breath, it could be electricity breath, like like all that stuff. It's like you basically hit people with a lightning bolt from your shotgun.
Speed loaders. There you
go.
Tactical,
so there's gonna be
tactical reloads and.
So there's going to also be rules for extended magazines and stuff. So, like,
I'm assuming the usage die would be better, or
basically. So, what if your standard pistol has a usage die of D6? Well, now you got a first tier extended magazine in it. Now it's a D8. So, like, there's less of a chance of falling that one.
But your gun's gonna be probably bulkier. You probably can't conceal that as well.
Yeah,
trying to sneak into the club and assassinate John Wick style the goblin mob boss. So.
This is also true. If they're rare in your setting, then I have no problem making them more powerful. And then usually in like pure fantasy settings, there also there's drawbacks where it's like they're like black powder and it takes like a whole round to reload them or stuff like that. I'm
working on adding the Conquistador class in this to White Box and to Makuhito, like making it sort of work in both. But all they had was an arquebus, so it's like there's not much. You that is one of those guns where it's like it is in a lot of respects just like a reskinned crossbow in some respects. I'm drawing from chainmail, but like it's a black powder weapon that is like a muzzle loader, so it's totally different than like an M4 or something like that.
Well, even I think it was second edition. I can't remember if they're in first edition already, but in second edition they added like black powder guns and they did exploding damage, but they did have to draw back that way. They took longer to reload, so that goes way back.
Yeah. And there's some one thing I don't get, just as a side note too, is like, because working on my Conquistador thing, is like people say like, guns have no business in D&D, but like the pike and shot era is so interesting to me. It's pretty cool. Like you got guys with like swords and spears and halberds, but then they're like blasting each other, and they're like plate armor, but then they're blasting each other with like rifles and stuff. It's interesting. Cannons. I don't know.
It's also kind of it's also kind, in my opinion, it's also kind of ignorant of the history of D&D, because there was like laser guns in Expedition to Barrier Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
Like that like they've been there since the start. Chainmail, I think, pretty much has rules for black powder. So
arquebuses are in chainmail.
So guns, including laser guns and sci-fi stuff, has been in D&D from the start. Just because it got lost at a certain point doesn't mean that it like all of a sudden doesn't belong in D&D. It maybe doesn't belong in your vision of D&D, but it certainly belongs in D&D and how it was originally designed, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's interesting too. We're kind of diverging from your game, but just real quick, like in 0E, and I wrote a supplement for this a while back in one of my zines. I'm going to probably rehash it out soon because I think it's necessary. In 0E, you have the option of making the deserts essentially Barsoom. It's Mars, and so there's Martians, and you can run into different types of Martians. But like John Carter was like there was like the Martian pistols and guns that they had and they'd use in those stories, right? And so it's like there's like sword fighting, but like you even look at the art of it, and it's like you have John Carter with like a pistol, and a sword, and this is like an influence on D&D, and I had made some rules for like how to have like Barsoom style weapons in
wasn't he like a Confederate veteran?
Something like that, yeah.
Union, like
he was fought in the Civil War.
So like no reason that he couldn't end up on Mars with his his Colt or his Smith and Wesson, like shoot a Martian in the face with like a cap and ball revolver. That sounds awesome. I would play that.
Yeah, now we got people talking about pike and shot here in the chat. So
yeah. And well, that's another thing. So this is going to be like kind of like the core book and kind of to get my system off the ground and all that stuff. But I want to do supplements, and I was
going to ask you,
yeah. So I want to do supplements for it, but I also want to do different settings using that same rule set. So maybe I will do like a Black Powder kind of like era thing. Maybe I'll do like a Weird West setting. It could actually just be like the Streets of Magic setting, but in the 18th century instead of like modern. So like that's all this stuff that I can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, Call of Cthulhu does that. You have like Cthulhu by Gaslight, which is like even prior to that, so it's like in the 1800s Jack the Ripper era.
Yeah,
and then you have like the 1920s and 30s. You have modern. I think they even give you the ability, I think, to and suggest that I think in the core rule book, like do the 1940s or 50s. That could be interesting as well. So
yeah,
having different eras is, I think, something that could be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I posted the link again just in case people are actually interested.
We should show the page.
Yeah, that would probably be good. Yeah.
Let me see here. I can do it from my thing here.
I can also show after that maybe some of the work in progress, the actual book.
Yeah, so you're at, well, let me refresh it. Let me see. Get a more accurate reading of where you're at. So you're at $6,358.
Yeah.
It converted to dollars for me.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, it's fine.
Converted from 5,478 euros. 137 backers, 25 days to go. We could talk about the art a little bit too. So you got Nolan to do all of the art for this book. And I think that I think that's one cool thing that you're doing is you're sticking with one artist to give your book like I think it only will make your book better because it gives your book like a more cohesive style. And Nolan has like I think he really has like the vibe down for what you are trying to do.
I mentioned to him like that timelessness, and I was like, yeah, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but like the movie Streets of Fire, and he's like, oh, that's like my favorite movie, and he was like immediately like all in, and he was like really excited for the project, which is always great when an artist actually cares. And then so yeah, he's hit it out of the ballpark with the art, in my opinion. Like that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I love his use of like black and stuff like that. He has a good handle on black and white, and shadow and color and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like right here, like we're talking about like the Zeppelin in the sky, but like this noir sort of what is the like Art Deco style, but
see, maybe we can make it what is it, like the full screen real quick? Is it this button?
That didn't do it. Are you talking about
yeah, so it just like zooms it a little bit more.
Oh, that didn't work. How do you do that? I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, because there's like so many buttons at the bottom now.
StreamYard is always changing everything, and they don't fully explain how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, this one works. So yeah, it shows the art a little bit more close up. So yeah, you can see what kind of vibe I'm going for as far as the city.
Can zoom in a little bit.
So the explanation in setting is actually it says there at the like beneath it, kind of like I have like a little lore thing. So Lightwood, a vast metropolis in the fictional western state of Dorado, one of the first American settlements to draw power directly from the local ley lines. The city quickly attracted East Coast money and influence, its skyline rising in Gothic spires and Art Deco towers as it swelled into a modern urban sprawl. And while its name promised hope, the city didn't keep that promise. A botched attempt at geoengineering magic left the sky almost permanently choked with heavy cloud and cold, dirty rain, while beneath that dark veil, corruption and crime runs deep, from the lowest back alley spellslinger to the highest office. Locals don't really call it Lightwood anymore now, they call it Blightwood. So that kind of explains, like, even though it's kind of like in this Utah setting, but like, it's hot and deserty, like why I made the city more kind of like Gotham.
Yeah, I makes me just think of like I could hear like some saxophone playing.
Yeah.
And everything's black and white. I got my fedora on, and I'm looking at some broad, and I'm like, get off these streets, toots. These streets aren't what they used to be.
Yeah, some dwarven like detective.
Yeah, these streets aren't what they used to be, toots. Like, get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah. And it's also kind of based on Sin City, because Sin City, like you wouldn't know it like watching the movies and reading the comic, because it's like all dark and noirish, but it's actually set in like also like some Western state somewhere. So that was kind of the inspiration. Plus, I wanted the area outside the city to be kind of like empty and lawless.
Yeah, because you gotta have because that's the key with like I think with any kind of game like this is you want to have a place to explore that's like wilderness and dangerous.
Yeah.
And you need to have a place to come back to, like the city, which the city doesn't have to be safe at all either, but like, it needs to be safer.
Yeah.
There needs to be safety there that the players can have access to.
Yeah.
So
but I like the idea of people going outside of the city and they can just hex scroll around the desert and like find like all this weird stuff. Well, if I set it in like the East Coast somewhere, that's like a little bit more populated, a little bit more dense, so it's kind of harder to get away with that, you know? That was kind of my thought behind it. I have no idea if it makes sense, but
yeah, I'm talking to a girl named Friday going like, get out of here, toots. These streets ain't what they used to be. And as I smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
There's goblins on these streets and orcs and dragons apparently. So
yeah.
People can kind of see your layout here too, I think.
Yeah.
Too,
so I'm still deciding if I'm going to keep that dark background and white text. I personally like it a lot, but I already can foresee people complaining that it's hard to read, and I'm also not quite sure how it's going to turn out with the print on demand and stuff.
Could be expensive,
Yeah. So, I don't think it adds any extra expense, but it just, print on demand, like the quality is always a little bit more grainy.
It might work for your. It might be fine for your offset.
Yeah, print, so I'm gonna have to experiment with that. It's not too big of a deal. Like I can easily palette swap the colors. Like it's fairly easy to do. I would maybe have to change like those headers, the titles, because those are like separate graphics with like kind of like neon text. I would have to figure out how to make those more black instead of white. But yeah. So I'm still experimenting with that. So that's still the final product might be different if you get what I mean.
Well, I mean, the people got to expect that. Like this is still there's going to be things that change. You know, I had that happen with White Box with certain things. This isn't initially what it looked like or I envisioned it, because I made like a 3D mock-up of my box set, and then I got it in and it looks pretty close to what I had mocked up, but it's not exact. So
but otherwise I think my layout is pretty slick.
Yeah, it looks good. I think it's readable. 2 columns, nice. So yeah, as we're talking about here, you got this old car.
Yeah, like the
old style microphone.
Yeah.
But then like more modern weapons.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So they can get the PDF for 15 euros.
Yeah.
Roughly $20. The soft cover, print on demand plus PDF, 25. Hard case, hardcover, and PDF, and then softcover print on demand plus hardcover print and print on demand PDF versions. And this is the one I backed because I wanted the nice offset print. So I got the $55 tier for the Street King, the hardcover print plus PDF. And then you have the whole shebang. So they get one of every type. Which I think is nice because then it's nice. I did this with like White Box, where it's nice to have multiple copies of a game. Especially when it's one book like this at the tables that people can reference.
And money wise, that's like technically the biggest saving right there. It's like 75 euros for everything, which if afterwards you have to buy all that stuff separately, you're gonna be out way more.
But we also have to note, I think, are you fulfilling pod through DriveThruRPG?
Yeah, so it's going to be at cost print on demand through DriveThruRPG, which
always
I
that person.
Multiple. Yeah,
I know
I mentioned that multiple times on the page.
Yeah, you got to, because there's always going to be that one guy that's like, why do I have to pay for my book again? I already gave you money. It's like, well, if you'd read, we actually did this earlier because I backed the wrong tier. And then I would joke that I'm like, I would have gotten the print on demand book and been like, Vic, where's my print on my offset print book? You cheated me. And it's like, well, you backed the wrong tier, you idiots.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I had to adjust my tier.
So no, I actually each tier separates that it will incur shipping or it will incur an extra cost, and then I think I mentioned it twice on the page itself in bold. That if you go down some, that is a picture with the sex. Also here. This one, yeah,
important.
Yeah. And I mentioned that at the beginning of the page, like I have the same text like too, so people won't really have any excuse if they're like, oh, why am I paying like $10 to print it?
Because that's what your tier said.
Yeah, and it also just the way DTRPG works. I mean, yeah.
And you got some add-ons as well, so
yeah, people can get my
stuff.
Yeah, like a discount and yeah.
Blacklight. So if you're into Shadow Dart.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see, let me look at chat here. Had to adjust my tiers. Later, Travis. And yes, back Victor's book.
See you, Travis.
Yeah, I bet this would be cool to do a Cadillacs and dinosaurs thing with. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. You can also technically just ignore my whole setting and just make your own setting and just use my rules. Like, at the end of the day, the rules will work for any kind of like modern day, setting that you want to do. So,
like if I wanted to be like a holy soldier that works for the church that like hunts down like vampires and stuff, I totally could do that.
Yeah,
I think you said you even have a faction. I think you even have said did you have the Vatican in this or something?
Yeah, the Vatican still exists. And there's going to be like modern day paladins and stuff, and there's going to be kind of I call it the hidden guard, and it's basically like the Vatican monster hunters and stuff. So yeah,
that's one of those things where like I don't want to bring up pundit, but like when I had read The Invisible College and I was reading through that book and I was like, this is whatever. His gun rules are like almost non-existent in that. But looking through it, I'm like, man, the potential here for this is not in, I think, what pundit intends for you to do with this. It's in hunting all these characters down. It's like and sweeping rooms and kicking in doors and like taking out cultists and whatnot,
exactly.
As you mag dump into them with your suppressed MP5 or
So you could technically use these rules for that. So if you want to play Invisible College and then actually do that, or have rules for gunfighting and stuff, you could check out Streets of Magic and just modify maybe some of the classes towards that end. That's actually why I love doing OSR stuff, because I like that cross compatibility. I like the idea of like, hey, we're going to the Isle of Dread, and there's like weird Aztec stuff on there. So you take Isle of Dread, you want that as an adventure. You take Makuhitl, you take all your Aztec monsters, you put them in the Isle of Dread, and then you take Streets of Magic for like the gun rules and for the classes, and now you have like a cool like Skull Island type adventure,
Yeah, I think that's to me like pulpy. Pulp style adventure, which I think there just needs to be again more of that. That kind of storytelling and adventure. I think we've kind of lost that. Now it's I don't know. We're doing 2-hour shopping role plays and like complaining about our dads and how much we hate them during the game.
Which if you want to do that, that's fine. But
I think you're playing an inferior game at that point.
Yeah, of course. But
that's not as much. That doesn't sound fun to me.
But there's no wrong way to play, John.
Man. There's no wrong way to play unless you're having fun, which implies that if you're not having fun, you're playing wrong. So you just refuted yourself. Good job.
Yeah.
I don't know. We normally would go for like another 30 minutes. Is there anything I've missed or that we've missed that you want to highlight on this?
Well, I can show like the full
yeah.
layout of a little bit, like give people even a better idea of.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So, wait, let me see. We'll move this one and then add this one. So yeah, we can make it bigger again. So yeah, this is the cover. Again, Nolan art, and it's based on one of the original movie posters for Streets of Fire. I really love how it turned out. I love the kind of like the weird kind of contrasting colors. It's really vibey.
Yeah, I think it was one of the best covers.
Yeah,
I think that I've seen for your work, and it looks good.
So on this page, you can kind of see what I'm doing with the background. So like it's actually kind of like a cityscape. It's like the background graphic, and then the all the art is or the text is imposed on that. Powered by Ammo Box old school RPG system. So that's kind of what I'm calling the system, because again, it's very gun centric. So I kind of like the idea of just calling it Ammo Box as a play on White Box.
I think that's funny. That's clever.
Yeah. Plus, it gives me my own system to like promote and talk about, and yeah. Like I said, you can kind of see the layout here. Character creation.
I know some people might have I don't have a problem reading the white on black. I know that people sometimes complain about that, but to me, I don't find it.
No, I'm pretty used to that myself. Like, so, but again, this is all still it could change. Who knows? Or I might do two versions. That's actually what I kind of did with Blacklight. So I have a version of the PDF that takes out the background graphic, because I had like this background graphic that made it look like a photocopy page.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave people a version of the PDF that doesn't have that, so it's a little bit more readable to people's old eyes.
Patty's Parlor says, thanks for the stream, guys. Always excited to listen while I work. Very proud of you, Vic. You've developed quite the skill for rules and layout and art direction. I hope I can write some adventures.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's another question. Are you going to have like a license? Are you going to let people...
I'm probably going to use the Creative Commons. I think that's just the easiest, rather than writing a custom license that I have to enforce. I think it works for Wizards of the Coast, so why wouldn't it work for me, right? It's my thought behind that. So yeah, I'm probably going to put it in the Creative Commons. And so anyone can basically just take it and write stuff for it. And then since I started my own business now, I started Lowland Legends games, whatever you want to call it. If I think you're cool and you're a friend of mine and you actually like do good work, I wouldn't mind letting you publish your book under my name, basically under the Lowland Legends brand. So it becomes like basically, at that point it would be like an official supplement for Streets of Magic, rather than like just like a third party thing. So we can always talk about that if I think you're cool. See, I'm trying to see like what I wrote and see if there's anything I want to talk about.
I'll write my Jeffrey Elfstein Island Assault supplement. So.
Yeah. I mean, you can. That probably won't be on the Lowland Legends, but I mean, yeah.
That's just a joke. I might do it for real, so it might be funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think you saying Jeffrey Elfstein is funny.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. Yeah, so as you can see here, that's like the normal 6 stats, but I did, just for flavor and setting, I did give them my own name, but then there's also the old school name if you prefer that. So there's muscle, smarts, instinct, grit, knack, and presence. Just the 6 scores. I do like prime attributes modifiers for like extra XP. So I have like the what happened? Hang on. I accidentally resized the wrong page. There we go. I have like the 3 alignments, but they're kind of my own take on that. So there's the code, which is law, there's the angle, which is neutral, and there's the hustle, which is chaos. So so for like example, the code is a character who lives by the code believes in structure, be it the law, a personal creed, or a higher power. Rules matter even when they're a hassle. In a world full of blatant crime, crooked officials, and broken dreams, sticking to your principles is often the only kind of dignity that's left. So it's kind of like a more modern, like noirish take on the classic 3 alignments. And then, as I say above here, like they don't just reflect your general worldview, but also where you stand in relation to the cosmic forces at work in the setting. In this world, magic, gods, and other higher powers are often very much out in the open, and they often pay close attention to how a character thinks and acts, whether the character likes it or not. So it's kind of like a combination between your personal creed, but the gods and the spirits and all that stuff will also pay attention to, you know, what your personal philosophy is there.
But I hate alignment. It's so restricted to my character.
Well, then ignore it. I don't care. Like, let's see, anything else interesting? So yeah, I have like a whole list of languages that you can learn. So all the human ones. I went kind of a bit overboard with the human ones, but I just thought that was fun. So you can be like, you can learn like Tagalog or like Serbian.
I mean, depending on where your game takes place.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to kind of cover all those bases. And then there's like the non-human languages. Like, so the way I did that is like there's the informal name, but kind of everyone just calls them like informally. And then there's the formal name, almost like the scientific name. So Dwarvish is the formal name is actually Dwergmal. And it's, spoken by dwarves. So kind of like a little simple explanation on that stuff. I haven't written all the classes yet because I'm still figuring out how to do them exactly. But yeah, it kind of gives you an idea of what I'm doing with the classes. So that's like the core class, which is like shooter in this case. So you're like a gun guy. And then at level 3, kind of like in 5e, you do get like a little mini subclass that you can choose to. And like each class will have 4 subclasses. So you can be a gunfighter, which is like a pistol person, like with quick drawing and all that stuff. You can be a sweeper, so you're like a shotgun guy.
Street sweeper.
You can be a trooper, so basically you're like a soldier, so you're like specialized in like automatic weapons and stuff like that. Or you can be a sniper, which, that speaks for itself. And then the same here for the sneak, which is like basically like the rogue thief class. So they have the operative archetype, which like, you can be like a spy or like a black ops thing. You can be a burglar, so just a classic thief. You can be assassin, so you have like bonuses to like using poisons and like, just getting up behind people and like cutting their throat and stuff like that. Or you can be a scout, which is kind of like a ranger basically. So like wilderness, if you want to like do wilderness stuff, you might want to take a scout with you. And then, yeah, this one isn't fully done yet, but this is kind of like the technician class and stuff like that. A lot of the stuff I've written is just like scattered across different files that I haven't plugged in yet. You know how it goes.
Yeah. People don't Vic should be able to understand that Vic and I construct our books wrong. Like, don't probably construct them the way we do. Like, we're very
chaotic.
Yeah. It's like chaos that coalesces into law and order at some point, but probably not the best way. But I think we're similar in how our brains work as to how we construct the things. Like, I like to make a book an experience, and so for me, it's like I can't just write on a Google Doc or like a Word doc. I have to see like the page layout come to life with the text itself at the same time for me personally. But it does cause problems, I'll say.
Yeah, definitely. Especially since then all of a sudden you have to like add something or take something away, and it completely messes the layout that you've already been working hard on.
Yeah.
So this is the skill list, which also isn't entirely final. I'm fairly happy with it, but I might try to consolidate some of the skills to kind of like shrink the list a little. But at the same time, the skills are kind of like controversial. Some people are like, oh, I want as like little skills as possible, but I kind of like having a bunch of skills. I think it's interesting. Like, that's the kind of games that I started playing, like Shadowrun and like all that stuff that had like a shit ton of skills. So I kind of like need that direction. I think this is kind of like a good middle ground for me personally, but like kind of covers everything that's important, but it's not like an entirely huge list,
Yeah, it's kind of like I think people sometimes go a little overboard with skills. I kind of think about like Traveler, how Traveler actually has like a very at least Classic Traveler has a very like specific to the setting. And there's some things that are that people would even view as like that's missing from it. You need that, but like I really don't think you actually do. You can get by without it. And I don't mind that sort of thing personally.
Yeah. So I think I'm pretty happy with the skill list, like I said. So I might just keep him, and if somebody doesn't like him, well, tough. You can't please anyone. Like that's one thing I've learned as a creator. You can't please anyone. So I kind of like write what I think myself is cool.
Yeah, you have to do because like there's always going to be someone that thinks like you should do. I'll be honest, I kind of hate getting that from people where they're like, you should do this, and it's like, don't tell me what I should and shouldn't do. You know, like
because I wouldn't tell them the same. I wouldn't tell them that either if they were writing a game the way they like it.
And I have noticed this, and maybe this is some advice for other people. It's like you're showing us your work in progress, and there's the risk with that is that like someone will have an opinion because they don't understand the vision that you have, like the end goal that you have. And so some of the stuff as you're working on it in the interim, it's not at a completed state yet. Like it doesn't make sense to someone who doesn't have your vision in mind. And so I've noticed that like if you show someone, even if you explain what your vision is and then you show someone a work in progress, they'll probably misinterpret it and someone's going to inevitably give you like bad feedback. It just happens every time. But what's funny to me is like if you present a product and it's fully finished and fleshed out and you just give it to people and you say it's done, here it is. They'll just accept it more often than not.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. If you give them a work in progress, they have all these opinions, and then they don't have the full picture a lot of the times, though. So here you can kind of see that challenge throw system that I was talking about. So I'll zoom in a little so you can see the table a bit better. So yeah, this is the table. So the difficulties go from easy to mythic. That was it. Yeah, easy to mythic. And then each has like a different number attached. And then as you level, the number kind of goes down, which that kind of compensates for the fact that for the most part, unless you find like an artifact or whatever, you're not going to be raising your ability scores all that often. So you still get better at stuff as you level. So yeah, and they work for saving throws, like I said. So there's save versus toughness, save versus reflex, save versus nerve, save versus magic, and then save versus awareness. So save versus toughness example tests physical endurance and resistance to bodily harm, such as when dealing with poisons, crushing debris, or environmental hazards like a sudden blizzard. Usually uses muscle or grit as the modifier. So yeah, stuff like that. Fairly simple, fairly straightforward. And then, like I said, they also work. They work for skills. The challenge throws they work the same way for skills and for spell throws.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's a good way of doing skills especially in old school D&D, because old school D&D didn't really have specific skills like that. So I feel like that's always the conundrum of people is trying to. Everyone has their own homebrew way of trying to do that. Like you have people like, oh, I just do the roll under ability score thing, and I think that only goes so far.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So here's like the usage die thing. So some items in the game rely on so-called usage die, a special die roll that abstracts an item's durability or the consumption of ammunition, fuel, energy, and other resources. Basically, instead of tracking exact numbers, the usage die represents how long something lasts before it fails, empties, or wears out. And then I have like all the different examples of like the common usage die that are the common usage checks that are used in the game. So the reload check that I talked about, armor check, so see if your armor holds up to whatever you're dealing with, a fuel or slash battery slash energy check. So you've been using your flashlight for a while, so the referee's like, hey, give me like a battery check to see if it
goes out.
Yeah. A breakage check. So like if you're using like an improvised weapon, it's like a glass bottle and you're hitting someone over the head with it, like it could probably break pretty easily. And a depletion check is like say you're carrying out a med kit and you've been healing your party, and the referee's like, yeah, give me like a depletion check on your med kit to see if if you emptied it out or not, bandaging everyone up,
Yeah.
So I think that's like a fun way to still manage resources but not have to bean count everything.
Well, I think like it's one thing to count arrows in a bow, you
Yeah,
know. That's easy. Oh, I have a quiver of 20 arrows like in 0E, you know, and I've used 3 of my arrows. That's easy to count. That's fine being counting, but I have a uh M249 or something like that, you know. It's like
yeah,
how many bullets are left on the belt? Like I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, it's also
I
like, yeah, I have like a med kit and it has like 6 charges. How many did I use? Like, I don't know. I can't remember. So yeah, instead it's just like, yeah, give me a depletion check on that med kit.
kind of reminds me of I think the Alien game uses
Yeah,
usage die in a similar way. I think with magazines for guns and stuff like that too, because
yeah,
you can panic in that game, like I said earlier, and so you panic and then you like I'm panicked and I just like mag dumped into something, you know, because I'm scared,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
think that gives like some it gives you the ability to manage resources, but also has like a cinematic feel in that respect,
yeah,
in my opinion. So
yeah. So encumbrance, it's basically just based on your muscle score, so your strength, and then there's like so light encumbrance is 5 times your muscle score. So if you have like 10 strength, you can carry 50 pounds and then you're lightly encumbered, basically. And then because I messed up the layout at one point and I had like an extra page to fill, I just made like a table of like all the calculations, so you can just check that by hand instead of having to do math yourself. And yeah, that's all the usual stuff: reaction walls, surprise, random encounters, all that stuff. Oh yeah, there's lingering injuries. So basically, you know, you can lose an eye or a hand, or have like a broken arm, or have brain damage. So you can end up with all sorts of stuff that you're gonna have to deal with. And they have like effects, like they could lower your ability scores, or they could lower your movement rate. And then there's also durations attached to them. So, you know, some of them are permanent and some will heal over time. Like a broken leg will heal over time. Like, you know, damage to your heart probably won't heal unless you get like some healing magic or like a surgeon involved.
getting a limb amputated.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have like a simple like illness and starvation kind of like fatigue system. So advancement. So you can do gold for XP if you want, which I say at the bottom here. And I kind of give like a conversion of like every $100 is like 1 XP.
That makes sense.
But then there's also other ways to earn XP that the referee can kind of like expand on if they wish. So if you defeat an enemy, you get XP based on the HD, the hit dice of the enemy. If you like successfully use a skill, you get some XP. If you complete like an objective, if you gain like a new contact, ally, or reputation boost, if you defuse a crisis, you know. So there's like also a kind of like narrative. There's like combat ways to get XP. There's kind of like narrative ways to get XP, and you can do gold for XP if you want. If you're doing like some Indiana Jones type stuff, you know, if you're going like on a treasure hunt.
I mean, even doing like you rob a bank or something like that, or you do a heist, you know, it still works. So
yeah. So yeah, this is kind of like rough guidelines on how you can award XP in this. Let's see. Yeah, so combat basics. Yeah, so damage types over here that I mentioned. So there's acid, arcane, which is pure magical damage, ballistic, blast, blunt, cold, fire, holy, mental, stun, sharp, shock, sonic, toxic, and unholy. And like I said, armor will usually only protect against a certain damage type, or 1 or 2 or 3 damage types. So you kind of have to wear the right armor for the right situation if you're wearing armor at all.
I kind of like that. I think that works for like a modern thing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what modern operators do anyways. You know,
Yeah.
A modern operator might go like, you know, a plate carrier is going to be too much for this. Like we need to go in with just chest rigs and like that's it, you know.
Yeah.
We can't go in with our level 4 plates on this mission. It's going to be too bulky. It's not going to work. So
yeah. Let's see. So yeah, defense score, where I explain why, you know, the defense isn't tied to wearing armor. Let's see. In the modern world of Streets of Magic, most people aren't walking around in full plate armor. In fact, even wearing a visible Kevlar vest in public could easily attract the wrong kind of intention. Because of this, a character's defense score is not determined by the armor they wear, but by the character's general training, reflexes, and good instincts. A character's defense score is primarily derived from a base number plus relevant attribute plus their class-specific defense bonus, the latter improving as they level. So combat-oriented classes will probably have a better base defense score, like bonus, than non-combat ones. And then, yeah, like I said here, wearing armor. So here the Kevlar vest is an example. A standard protective vest made out of durable Kevlar mesh, popular with police officers and security forces, protects against ballistic and sharp. Damage reduction is 1d4 plus 1, and then I also give like the average. If you don't want to roll, you're just going to take the average of 3. And then the armor check die is a d6. So when the referee is like, "Hey, you just got hit by a hunting rifle. Let's see if your armor held up. Roll a d6." And if you roll a 1, then your armor shredded, and you have to replace it or get it repaired. So fairly simple.
Would it stop that? Would it affect that shot? Like he got shot by the hunting rifle from the inbred hillbillies that are cannibalizing people. Would it stop that round, and then any subsequent damage is you're not gonna get full damage, or is that round cutting because of the armor failed? Is that our round cutting right through the armor?
So it's always gonna like absorb like a little bit. So it's gonna absorb 1d4 plus 1 damage, but a hunting rifle might do like 2d8. So if that hunting rifle rolls like 16 damage and only 3 is absorbed, plenty of that round still went through the armor and hurt you. So yeah, like that's kind of more based on weapon damage and stuff like that. Plus, like I said, there's different ammo types. So you could be hit by an armor piercing round, and then the damage reduction is like cut in half, basically. I also explained kind of like how natural armor works. So some creatures have so-called natural armor, such as tough hides, chitin, I think it's called. It's pronounced. I always say chitin, but I think it's chitin, whatever.
I'm not sure actually how to pronounce that word either.
Yeah, or scales. In this case, they never have to roll an armor check, no matter how many times they get hit, and they use their built-in damage reduction. Because, that makes sense. Like, they're not gonna, like, for the most part, their hide isn't gonna be, like, so damaged that it's, gonna fail.
Well, that's another question then, because you want to have cross compatibility with other old school games. So how is using like a stat block from like a traditional D&D book? How is that going to like you have it's a creature with like AC 6. Like, how is that factoring into like your system?
So I'm kind of gonna give like a little bit of a conversion thing for that. So for the most part, you can just keep the AC the same, and you can just say that's their defense score. You can maybe give them like a bonus if you're like, hey, this monster is like particularly fast or like flexible or whatever. Or you can give them a minus because you're like, hey, this monster's like particularly slow. And then I'm also gonna give like a little bit of a conversion table. It's like, hey, if it has like leathery hide, that corresponds to this kind of like damage reduction. If it's wearing like a plate mail, that kind of corresponds to this kind of damage reduction. Plus, it stops this kind of damage. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I'm gonna give like a little bit of a conversion for that. So it's like, hey, I'm taking like an like one of your Makuhitl Aztec creatures from your book, and it has like 15 AC. You can just be like, yeah, it's like 15 defense score. He's not wearing anything, so he doesn't get any armor, so he doesn't get any reduction.
Okay, that makes sense.
Over here I have like kind of like how to handle certain edge cases. So like, hey, what if you're attacking from behind? What if you want to bypass armor? What if there's like low visibility? What if you're blind? All that stuff.
Yeah, chat saying it's chitin.
So. Yeah, chitin. And you can see like the weapon quality. So there's like blast, which is for like explosive weapons, which do like basically AoE damage. Burst fire. So basically, let's see, how do I? Yeah, so basically it just increases damage by like a certain degree, but it also increases the usage die for the ammunition. Full auto, yeah, so all the stuff like suppressive fire, spread for shotguns, sniper, like all the fun stuff basically. And that's about it. That's like in this book so far. So I have like a bunch of like examples scattered throughout, like how do I roll skills, and like here's like a little combat example of how combat is supposed to work, and stuff like that.
I know you hate making tables. We've talked about. I hate making tables too. But like, are you gonna have stuff for GMs to like random encounter tables or like rumor tables or like stuff to kind of help them run their games?
So each kind of like generic area. So it's like, hey, I'm in like the industrial area of the city. I'm in like downtown. I'm like, in the slums or whatever. They're gonna have their own like encounter tables that you can use. I'm gonna put in like rumor tables and all that stuff. So yeah, to kind of like help flesh out the setting and to kind of let the referee make up stuff on the fly if they need to.
And you can have your own. Are you gonna have monsters in this as well? Of like your
own
so
there's gonna be a monster section. I'm putting in all sorts of magic. Oh, that's actually one thing that I should probably show. I think that's like a little bit further along. Oh yeah, spellcasting. That's what I forgot. I knew I forgot something. So magic. I should probably talk about that because it's called Suites of Magic. So one thing I never really liked about D&D is that magic is kind of like a hodgepodge of stuff. It's like, oh, I have magic missile and fireball and cloud kill and stuff. I like magic to be like a little bit more regimented. So I'm doing magic schools. So if you're a wizard type character, you can specialize in these different schools of magic. So you can do like demonology, you can do necromancy, you can do technomancy, you can do aquamancy, and like do water stuff. You can do like geomancy and like make the ground shake and like summon like rock elementals and stuff like that. So there's going to be different magic schools with specific spells that are attached to that fit that theme. It's roll to cast, like I said, so similar to Shadow Dog, where you just make a challenge throw to cast the spell, depending on its innate difficulty, and maybe like some modifiers, if like environmental modifiers and stuff like that. If you make your roll, you cast a spell. If you don't make your roll, it like fizzles out. If you roll a natural one, you lose the spell. You lose access to that spell until you rest. Basically. See what else.
I think roll to cast is cool. It works. Like you said, Shadow Dark does it.
Yeah.
I mean, Chainmail has roll to cast.
Yeah.
If we're honest, 2d6.
Yeah.
Well, that one's a little different. That one has like it pops off, it's delayed, or it doesn't pop off, which I think is interesting as well. So
yeah. Let's see what else. Oh, so you're going to be able to find spells and whole new schools of magic through play. So, like, what if you find like the Necronomicon? Well, now you can, if you don't go insane, you can learn like weird Lovecraftian magic, or you get like some unique spells involved with that. Stuff like that. So that gives me the ability to add like all these cool artifacts and grimoires and stuff that you can find in the world and put them in treasure tables that can give wizards like access to like unique spells and all that stuff. There's a magic density mechanic. So because there's like a ley line network, not every area on Earth has the same level of magic permeating the air. So there's like rules for like you can see here, the magic density table for like that magic area. Magic is almost entirely absent, often the result of deliberate anti-magic measures or the complete destruction of the local ley lines. And that gives you a -6 penalty to spellcasting rolls. While if you're in a strong magic area, enhanced magical energy often found at enchanted or cursed places, holy shrines, or their exposed ley lines, a +2 bonus to spellcasting rolls. And there's like a whole bunch of that.
But this is going to be available to you and your foes, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, if you're a spellcaster in a death magic zone, you're gonna have a hard time. You might want to rely on your gun. If you're a spellcaster in a deep magic zone, like you're standing next to a god that's awakening, your spells are gonna be really amazing. So I kind of wanted to play with that. I think that adds like a fun thematic element.
environmental stuff. I mean, what my mind goes to is like you're a operator. Let's say you don't even cast magic, but it's like I'm gonna be smart and try and lure this spellcaster into an area that's dead magic or fading magic, so that I can level the playing field or have an advantage because maybe they don't have a proper weapon or armor or anything like that on them. So it's like I can.
Yeah, exactly. And then also like a fun little thing that I have is called Wok Candy. Wok Candy is a semi-legal arcane stimulant popular among spellcasters in need of a quick magical boost. Crystallized from alchemical reagents and condensed ley line energy, it's typically consumed by snorting or huffing. When consumed, Wok Candy gives, for a limited time, a certain bonus to spellcasting rolls depending on the quality of the dose. For example, standard Wok Candy gives a +2 bonus to spellcasting rolls, while higher quality Wok Candy might give as much as a bonus of +4 or +6. Repeated use of Wok Candy can lead to addiction, as detailed in its full description in the equipment chapter. So basically, wizards just can like snort like magical cocaine, and like all of a sudden their spells are boosted. So that might help in like one of those, like say you're in a death magic zone and you have like that -6 to your spell casting. Well, I'm just gonna take like a dose of the high quality Wok Candy. Now I have a +6 to my spell casting, so it evens out.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. But then you might get addicted. That's the risk too. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, stuff like that. I'm just having fun with it basically. And that's that's pretty much it in this work in progress file, I believe. I think I do have like some of the base stuff, but that's not entirely finished yet. Let's see. Go down. So yeah, like the way elves work. So I'm still working on this, but I want elves to be like they belong to like these different courts. They still kind of follow the old Fayish way of hierarchy. So you have the unseelie and seelie courts, and then those are like they have like the sub courts. So like this the unseelie have like the court of glass, the court of masks, the court of ash, the court of wood, and then the seelie have the court of spring, the court of summer, the court of autumn, and the court of winter. And they each kind of have like their own philosophies and stuff like that. And then orcs, which I still need to finish. And then warclocks, which are going to be like weird clockwork robot people. So,
cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's about it, really. Let me go back to there we go.
Add this here.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, we're like right at the 2-hour mark. Perfect timing. So
yeah.
Everyone should go check out Streets of Magic. I think that like Vic does a really good job. I think if you're on the fence of like if you've always been on the fence of guns and D&D or urban magic or urban fantasy, I think that checking out Vic's work is a good way of getting into it. Maybe Vic is the one who can convert you to it. I think you have like a decent following at this point, Vic. You have people that have your work, they're running your games and they're having a good time. Like people I know are running. You hear people running of them running Blacklight and stuff like that. So
yeah, I got an email the other day of somebody who was planning to run Blacklight at a big con.
What con? I mean, and I'm happy to make a sale, of course. Like it's nice when people buy our stuff. It's even nicer to me though when people play it and have a good time. Like,
yeah,
I have so many fond memories of my games and how they turned out.
Yeah.
So to be able to give that to someone else via a game I've made is super cool to me. It feels good. So
yeah, definitely. Somebody reached out to me. They wanted to run Blacklight at Game Hall Con in Wisconsin.
Oh, cool.
So they were like asking me if I wanted to give them anything to like promote my brand. So I thought that was cool. So yeah, it's kind of still a weird feeling that like there's like people across the world for me that are just like running my stuff at like these cons. Yeah, that's like really cool. But yeah.
Yeah, someone ran a white box at a con recently. They're showing it on the Discord server. I'm like, that's so cool. And then they were like, oh yeah, a couple people got on their phones and said they ordered a copy. So I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, a Dutch guy that supported Modern Necessities. He ran it at like a Dutch con at one point, which was cool. So yeah,
you gotta build that. You gotta build that Dutch that Dutch fan base out there for yourself.
Yeah. Roger says he'll definitely have Blacklight being one at his con. Roger has his own con. I was on a show recently, and the big fans of Blacklight, which was really cool. Awesome. He was also the very first backer of Streets of Magic. So yeah.
Oh, there you go. Backer number one here.
Yeah, I'll have to think of something special to give him for that, maybe. Yeah.
Well, that's rad. So yeah, everyone check it out. The pinned comment should have the link. I'll put it in the chat again to you too. Just to have it.
Yeah, Viktor's have the largest and oldest Dutch RPG company. Apparently, I don't know.
Right here, Streets of Magic. Check it out. It's also pinned in the pinned comment and in the video description below.
Yeah.
Vic's already funded, and Vic's already delivered. You've delivered, I think, 3.
Three. This is my 4th. So successful Kickstarter. So yeah,
you're gonna be getting your stuff. Vic has not delivered.
And yeah, it's already funded, so you're gonna get your stuff either way. So yeah, funded in 10 hours, which was really nice. Maybe help you get to 140 backers today.
That'd be awesome. So you're close. Let me refresh it. I want to see. Now we're at the end here. If anyone. No, someone had said earlier. Someone, I think, not since I last refreshed it. I refreshed it pretty recently. So,
well, I think people also talking about they might have backed before, like in general.
It's true too.
Yeah. Which of course, I'm appreciative of that.
So yeah, check out Streets of Magic. For me, check out White Box. I'm going to be working on getting those delivered soon. I think Chinese New Year is coming to an end.
Yeah.
And so I'll be able to finally figure that out. Watch my recent video where I showed the contents of the box, and I'm taking late orders essentially through my website at a higher price. But I think the price is still worth it. It's going to be a very quality box set product. And so check that out.
Yeah. And we should run a game of that again on the channel sometime. You should figure out how to point your camera at the map so you can use the actual physical map while we're running the game. That would be cool.
I need to set up like a table over here on my side or something like that, and I could probably make that work.
Yeah, I've seen setups like that. And at some point, once I kind of go back to writing it, because usually when I'm kickstarting a project, I kind of leave it alone like a little bit beforehand and doing the Kickstarter. I don't know, it's just a little quirk of mine. I usually just don't really want to like think about it too much while I'm running the Kickstarter, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
But once I go back to it and I can get all the core rules kind of like finished, I wouldn't mind trying to run a like one shot on the channel. You kind of nerve-wracking because I've never done that before, but yeah.
I would like to run more things on the channel. I know like we're not going to be Critical Role, and it seems like actual plays don't always do as well if you're not Critical Role. But I think it's still useful to demonstrate a game, especially a real game, like a real life game with real people that's not overproduced. So I'm totally down for that in the future. Roger's saying you should ship yourself over in a box for the con.
Yeah. I would love to hit up some US cons eventually. It just requires having the funds to make the trip and actually like stay in hotels and stuff. So maybe in the next few years, we'll see how all my projects go in the next few years. So yeah.
Yeah, I want to make it to some cons, even as just like not even as like a seller, but like just to walk around and meet people.
Yeah, so same. Yeah.
I don't necessarily need to sell, but it'd be nice to probably get a booth. But
yeah.
But we'll end it here. Thanks for everyone for watching. Thanks for Vic for being here, sharing his Kickstarter. I backed it. I think that you guys should back it. Check it out.
138. Somebody just pledged.
Oh, so look at that.
Thank you, whoever did that.
We need to make our own con, TBE. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would love Basic Con. I would definitely.
Basic Con is funny. That's the name I would pick for a con that I would run. But
yeah,
there's so many hoops you got to jump through, and I haven't had the time to research it.
Maybe talk to Roger. He, like I said, he wants his own con in New York somewhere. So you should hit him up. to see. And plus, you should go on his show. What you have TB on your show? They're great guys over there. So
yeah, that'd be down, sure. But we'll end it here. Thank you guys for watching. Again, thanks for Vic. Check out Streets of Magic and check out Whitebox. Like, subscribe, share the video, and we'll catch you guys in the next stream next week at some point. You got 2 streams this week, so you know. Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad. Seeing my face an extra time this week. But
and this Saturday I have another stream with some people, and then Monday I have a stream with Jack Picardi, and then I'm like streaming all over the place this coming month. So
yeah, Roger just hit me up. The getting to New York might be hard this year, but I like I said, I want to get to cons at some point in the future. Got to figure the logistics out for that, but for sure I would be able to come on your show. To have a chat if you're down. Just hit me up.
Yeah.
We'll end it here. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
See ya, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Because they are, in fact, experiencing mentally a whole creative world